Secretary of State John Kerry is in Baghdad as we speak. Kerry is meeting with Iraq's newly seated Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi and his government. Kerry is making several stops in the Mideast this week to drum up support for the president's strategy to defeat ISIS. Kerry is meeting with Iraqi leaders, and this comes just hours ahead of President Obama's primetime nationally televised speech at 9 p.m. this evening. And new poll numbers show Americans are now more increasingly supportive of broader military action in the Mideast. Take a look at this right here. A new NBC News Wall Street Journal polls shows that 2/3 of respondents say it's in the nation's best interest to increase military action against ISIS. Only 13% believe the U.S. should shy away from confronting that terror organization. The same poll shows that 40% of those surveyed think airstrikes against ISIS are appropriate. 34% say they'd actually support ground troops in addition to those airstrikes, but the Obama administration continues to promise no American ground forces will be used. Now, new reports indicate the president may authorize new airstrikes without congressional approval in Syria. President Obama told congressional leaders that he has the authority to do so and to combat Islamic State militants during the congressional leadership visit to the White House yesterday. Earlier, we spoke with Senator Ron Johnson, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations and Homeland Security Committees. Johnson says the U.S. must combat ISIS, but the president must also get congressional authorization to do so.
I think it's important that we craft an authorization for use of military force that will not only give this president the authority to do what he has to do to combat global terrorism, because this problem isn't going away.
Well, Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell also says the commander-in-chief and the nation's best interests. It's in the commander-in-chief and the nation's best interest to get congressional approval before he moves ahead.
He really ought to be asking for our support, whether or not he may think he's authorized to do what he intends to do. I think it would be in his best interest and the country's best interest.
Well, McConnell added that if anybody in Congress had doubts about taking the fight to ISIS, those doubts were eliminated by the beheading of 2 American journalists. Now in New Hampshire, Republican Scott Brown continues his road back to the U.S. Senate. He won the Granite State's GOP primary for the U.S. Senate seat there. Of course, Scott previously held a Senate seat in Massachusetts. He defeated several party rivals, including another former U.S. Senator, Bob Smith. He now faces off against Democratic incumbent Jeanine Shaheen in the general election. And the woman who Brown beat in 2010 in Massachusetts advances her bid to become the state's next governor. Martha Coakley defeated Democratic Party Chairman Stephen Grossman in the Democratic primary there. Now also in Massachusetts, Democratic Congressman John Tierney lost to a primary challenger. The 9-term veteran of Capitol Hill was defeated by political neophyte Seth Moulton. Moulton is a Marine and Iraq War veteran. He'll face off against Republican Richard Tisset for the state's 6th congressional district.